I mean, I think it's really important to humanize athletes.
Matthew Cherry didn't miss a beat. The former NFL player collected an Oscar for Best Animated Short 1 year after Kobe Bryant did in the same category earlier this year, and immediately went back to work directing television the next morning. The grind hasn't stopped. He directed a special double episode of Blackish that's focused on the upcoming election, and he's working on bringing a 2D animated series to HBO Max, and soon he'll direct The Come Up, a comedy caper. We chat. So on a Sunday, you win an Oscar, and then on a Monday, very early in the morning, you go into work to direct TV. How did that moment feel for you?
It was pretty surreal.
Yeah.
I ended up going back to Mixed Dish. And so, a lot of these jobs, they get set up, months in advance. So, you have no idea how things are going to shake out. And it just happened the week of the Oscars. I was in prep. And then, that Monday was was the first day of shooting. So definitely was a whirlwind. And just, no sleep, but definitely was worth it.
Yeah. Has what you're looking for changed since that Oscar win?
No, not really. I mean, if anything, I think, when something like that happens, it kind of gives you like a bit of an industry cosign where, projects that were like a lot harder to try to even get a foot in the door with now, end up becoming like offers and things, which is kind of crazy because you feel like you're the same exact person. But, but no, for me, I've always loved like things that were like a little lighter kind of and fair. I think Hair Love really kind of, just really validated just, that there's a whole lane that I think a lot of filmmakers aren't thinking of, and, things that are kind of more geared towards kids and things that are, a little lighter, that I really am into, things that, are in kind of the middle grade space, things that are a little bit more young adult. And so, definitely that's the space that I want to continue, working in. And, I think everybody has one or two projects that are a little edgier and, could be a little darker. That are kind of a dream project too. But, for the most part, I want to do things that, the whole family can enjoy.
Which brings us to this special edition of Blackish that you're directing that's going to air, of course, after the NBA Finals.
Yep.
It feels very much right that you're directing both parts of this special because it's partly it's animated, hello Oscar, but also it's really about affecting change and maybe discussing something that's important, and that also feels like that's very much a part of your entire platform. Tell me a little bit about when you got that phone call about this, and where did you start, and what did you think, and how quick was your yes?
It was crazy because, we've been developing the Hair Love television series, Young Love. Mm-hmm. And so, it was kind of hitting right around the time when we were supposed to be working on the pilot and starting to get geared up for production. And, a couple of things worked out schedule-wise where, we were able to fit it in. And, for me, it just really represented, I think, the type of television that I want to direct moving forward, things that are, important and impactful. I think when you're first starting out, you're just trying to get everything that you can just so that you can get your foot in the door and you can kind of prove that this is what you can do. But, I think now moving forward, I really want to do things that are important and things that aren't I feel like aren't necessary, things to be out there, or things I'm going to start turning down. Yeah.
Firsthand, better than anybody, I think, how important images are and how important the content can really be. I mean, we can look at, your work with the Crown Act, for example, and how vocal you were about that in conjunction with Hair Love. What is it that you hope that this election special will do along those same lines?
It's a really well-written hour, of television. Both episodes, they deal with kind of different facets of the voting process. So, the first live action half hour really deals with Junior finding out that he's been purged from the voter rolls. And he's kind of going through this process, a deep dive kind of on the internet, trying to figure out kind of what happened and, is it happening to other people? And so I think that obviously is relevant just in that, some that voter suppression is probably the number one issue that's happening. in this election. And, I think everybody's quick to say, get out there and vote, but people forget that there are like entire systems that are out there that are, in place to try to prevent us from voting. So, I think that episode will really call attention to that. And then the animated episode is really about, Dre finding out that his boss, Stevens, is getting ready to run for Congress. And in order to try to stop him, he tries to start running for Congress himself, and he goes through that process. And so with that episode, I think the message behind it is just really seeing like how important it is to really have a platform and to support people that do have platforms and to do the research. And, there are a lot of people other than just the president that you're going to be voting for when you vote on your ballot, and how important it is to kind of look at your local elections as well. So, I think it's a perfect tandem. And hopefully people are entertained by it, but also inspired to, get out there and vote.
And you have some special guests that you directed on this episode. Tell me a little bit about them. I know Stacey Abrams is one of them. What was that like?
Oh man, the Stacey call was crazy because I think the BP news hit like right when we were in the middle of the session recording with her. But she's a sweetheart. She is so passionate, about these issues, especially with voter suppression and, getting people out there to vote. And so she was a pleasure to work with. She knocked out her scenes fairly quickly. Yeah. And then, then we have Desus and Mero, who are just so funny and so talented. They definitely knock their stuff out pretty quickly too, because this is what they do all day, every day.
How is 2020 and all of the things that have happened in 2020? I mean, at this point, we're talking about a global health pandemic, the social justice movements, the fight for equality and equity, and so much more. But how do all of those things maybe shape the type of art that you would like to create moving forward? I know you had already started, down that path, as we talked about earlier, but I have to imagine that seeing all of these images maybe is doing something for you creatively too, yes?
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it even for a lot of creatives, myself included, it just makes you recalibrate the way you're approaching your art. You got to really make sure that if you're, given this opportunity to tell stories in this time period, you really have to be saying something. And, definitely made us kind of rethink how we were approaching, the Young Love series and definitely future work moving forward. And, I think for me, like my approach is one that hopefully is kind of one that's rooted more in escapism, because I do think that, we do have to have joy and laugh and kind of see ourselves in, the lighter moments in life too. But also, things are real and, people are dealing with them, and, you can't ignore that either. So, definitely I like to try to approach it with a combination of the escapism, but also, not forgetting that, these are real issues that people are dealing with.
No, escapism is essential. And I expect that maybe that's what we're going to see under your new first look deal with Warner Brothers Television. Congratulations on that. Tell me a little bit about, the projects that maybe that you can talk about that you're thinking about bringing to life under that arm.
Well, the great thing, I think the Blackish special was a great example of the kind of things I'm into, both live action and animated. So, definitely going to be a combination of those different mediums that we're going to be trying to bring to life. Some things that'll be based on books, some things that are original ideas.
I saw most recently, there's a former athlete out there that you are, trying to help kickstart that fund. Tell me a little bit about why those types of things are so important for you, especially having been on the other side of it and seeing how big, your own moment was.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is just like, you never know like what donating some money or sharing somebody's project, like you just never know what the impact that small act may have. You may go on and do whatever you're doing, but then, I get this all the time where people reach out, 5-6 months later and be like, man, thank you for sharing that project. Even if I wasn't able to donate to it, even the act of sharing gets it on somebody else's radar that may be able to kind of get it over the top or provide the resources that people need. And, sharing something costs nothing. It literally doesn't. And I just remember being at a point where, you're in that same position where you hope that people will see your stuff and, will support it or share it. And, for me, I just try to get back in that way. And so anytime I see, a Kickstarter by, a creator of color that, seems halfway interesting, I'm going to back it just because you never know. And for me personally, like, I want to be that person that, when people get on and, they have their moment too, that they can look back and be like, he was somebody who supported me, even before like I was big time. And, that's something that's really important to me.
Absolutely. Not just animation, not just television.
Yep.
You also are going to be directing a feature film to come up. Really excited about that. I'm sure that it's had its delays because of the world that we're living in right now. But tell me a little bit about where you are with that and what we can expect from that project.
Yeah, no, the Come Up is a live action comedy heist film. Michael Starberry, Emmy nominated writer from When They See Us and Inevitable Defeat of Mr. and Pete wrote it, and kind of was Jermaine Fowler's brainchild. He's such a talented creative himself, and it's got a great cast. The Lucas brothers, who are behind the Judas and the Black Messiah movie. And also great comedians themselves. They're going to be co-starring in it, along with Little Rel and Jermaine himself. And it's just a story I think that people can really relate to. It's about some young individuals who are kind of feeling disenfranchised, with their job prospects, and kind of feeling beat down by the world a little bit, and are kind of put in this position where they feel like they have to end up trying to rob a bank, and, hijinks ensue. And, it's going to be a real funny project, but also has a really strong message behind it. And I can't wait for people to see.
Yeah. Now that you have the platform and people are paying attention, is it time to go full circle again and maybe tell a sports story? If so, what sports story out there would you love to tell?
Oh my God. Like, I was just joking about this the other day. I feel like every sports movie in Hollywood has somehow ended up in my inbox now. Definitely, want to tell a couple of different sports stories, if I have the opportunity, in a couple of different mediums too, documentary space as well. There's so many great people out there that are both in the current world and also kind of back in the day that deserve to have their stories told. And, for me, it's just all about, I feel like there's a certain kind of combination that I'm looking for, some that has like a strong kind of social message behind it too, but also is fun and feels like something we haven't seen before. And, those are the things that are really attracted to me. Definitely want to do a football story at some point. I don't know if it'll be feature. I don't know if it'll be in the television space, but definitely want to get my hands on something like that and actually show the football stuff too and have it look real. Because, I know sometimes like, I think in a lot of the current shows, it's really hard to shoot realistic football sequences. And, sometimes, you have whole shows that don't even show the sports side of it. They just do the behind the scenes stuff. So, I definitely want to do some that you get that action on it too, because it's such an important part of the journey. It's like a lot, especially in high school and college, you're a student athlete. So you need to see both sides of it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to those opportunities and kind of looking at a couple of different things now. So definitely you'll be one of the first to know when I make that leap,
I better be one of the first to know because I know that whatever sports film you do, especially if it's about football, it is going to have that layer of authenticity.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important to humanize athletes. I think sometimes when filmmakers come into sports stories and they don't have that experience of being an athlete, I think it's real easy to just only see the sports side of it, and you don't really give the same attention to detail to the inner life. And to me, that they're both kind of just as equally important. And I think, you have to show the whole, sum of a player, not just what they do on the field, to get a real feeling for who they are. So
up next on another act, Alicia Keys.